Henshin go baby, what's good guys? Yoku here, and the new permanent event just dropped in Honkai Star. Why did I not tell you that the name of the event was Simulated Universe Swarm Disaster? We saw a bit of this during the live stream, and now we actually get to play it. It's kind of like the normal Simulated Universe, but more fun, more challenging, and better. Swarm Disaster brings new blessings, curios, random events, new types of path resonances, and a bunch of fresh jades to collect. I should also probably mention that this is currently the hardest content available in the game. No need to worry though. Allow me to roll the dice. I don't know why I did that. That was lame. Intro out of the way, let's break down the basics of Swarm Disaster into digestible bites. In the normal simulated universe, you progress vertically through the entire map, but in Swarm, the map changes to a hexagonal board with each tile representing a domain. Shoutouts to JJK. These domains are where you'll experience the familiar taste of the simulated universe, so that part should be easy. I'm not really gonna go over it. What needs explaining is the hexagonal map. Think of this like a mini version of shogi or chess, whichever you're familiar with. There are 3 planes to get through, so you'll want to do your best to gain as much power as possible while advancing forward in the least amount of moves. You'll even notice this token system in the top left that tracks how many moves you have left to make on the board before you reach a penalty state. The first plane is average size with some decent buffs to get you started. Look for the strongest ones and aim your route after that. The second plane is the largest with a bunch of buffs and tiles that can make or break your run. It's important to save the most of your move counters for this specific plane. The final plane is a straight shot to the boss. Now, if you're afraid of the penalty that I mentioned earlier, which will be from here in this point forward, referenced as the Disarray state, then make sure you save 4 to 5 move counters for the last floor. You can't turn around and go backwards or move to a domain to the left of the map or in the same row, otherwise they'll collapse. The reason for this is because each domain has its own feature or trait specific to whatever it is that you're doing on that map. Some are gonna benefit you, like changing the adjacent tiles into extra move counters, while others will hinder you and transform every other tile into a swarm domain. Some domains even feature this thing called a beacon that makes enemies stronger, but the rewards are definitely better. Even the boss domains have something unique about them, and if you pay close attention, you'll notice that they heavily influence your final swarm boss's difficulty. Now, some of you might be this type of player, all right? You might be asking yourself, why should I be worried about running out of moves on the board? I have a Imagine Dragon and an E6 Yukon, free to play by the way. I can just auto everything for free. Wrong. You will get your cheeks clapped faster than a whale pulls out their wallet for digital girlfriends. Once you run out of moves, it is almost game over. You enter what's called the Disarray state, which is basically the game's way of penalizing you for trying to buff up before the final boss. Every move after 0 will increase the disruption level by 1, going all the way above 21 and resulting in a giant increase of power for all the enemies. Now, from my own experience, it was almost impossible for me to get to the final boss without entering the Disarray state. That is until I unlocked the abundance path, which made things a lot easier. The abundance path basically cheats for you and turns negatives into positives. Once again, shout outs to JJK. So if you step on one of these so-called mercy tiles, which are the green ones, then it gives you a move counter instead of taking one away. Be super careful though, because surprisingly, or maybe to not your surprise, but the reverse can happen. Thankfully, the game implemented a really cool system in order to try to help you out with getting some good stuff. Swarm Disaster brings over this cool new feature called a communing. Yes, I'm calling communing trials Kamui because I can't pronounce the word. I don't know how to say it. It's basically D&D Starry Edition. Every time you activate the device, it rolls a random die to give you a random domain effect. That effect could be used to steal the buffs from a domain without entering it at all, or completely change the domain into a different type altogether. The more you play this simulated universe, you'll eventually unlock the ability to reroll or even cheat the Kamui device to get the domain effect you want. Figuring out how to manage all of this stuff will be crucial to your success in the swarm. Now that we've gone over all the basics of Swarm Disaster, we can start taking a look at the new path resonances to use for our benefit. Just like in the normal simulated universe, you'll gain the ability to pick a resonance path in the beginning. Now you will need to unlock this first, and each of them come with their own unlocking criteria, which honestly took me all the way back to playing games on the PS2. Each path has the normal buff and then a new new set of 2 interplay resonances that help you throughout the entire domain path. There's even cool secondary paths now attached to the main one. So in the normal simulated universe, when you collect 3 cards of the same resonance, it grants you a more powerful card to use. In Swarm Disaster, that still exists, but now you can get the same thing from other paths. If that wasn't enough, you should have already noticed the continuous effect each path applies to the domain. All of them have their own die effects that dictate the first 2 planes before you get to the final Swarm boss. Now you might be asking yourself why this mode in particular gives so much power, so much benefit to the player, basically for free. And that's because the higher difficulties will fuck. These purple tiles, also known as the Swarm, are what you should really be invested into. Do your best to familiarize yourself with how each of these operate and learn to deal with these things as quickly as possible. When you come across the one that I just showed you, basically imagine that you're speedrunning a fight between Silver Rathalos on top of the tower in Monster Hunter, and you're naked. If you don't defeat this beetle in as little turns as possible, this fight will become an absolute nightmare. Each Swarm boss has a different debuff per plane, which is modified by what you chose in the first 2 planes. But this gigantic beetle in particular has a unique trait that I'm so glad they put into the game. As much as I hate it, he multiplies himself into whatever the universe allows. It is an incredibly strong ability and I love every bit of it. Play this mode, experience the joy, or I guess anger if that's what you want to do. But I do not want to spoil anything else about the simulated universe for you because I want to see all of you type your results in the comments down below. That, and I really want to watch you guys rage on my stream, but I know I can't just leave you guys with a get out there and do your best, Jimmy. So this last section is basically me putting together a few tips that I really found helpful while playing the game. Numero uno, which for those that don't speak Spanish like myself, which means that just means number 1, tip number 1, put a decent amount of focus into completing as many of these Kamui trials as possible. There are tons of great buffs in here that need to be unlocked, which will help you throughout each and every domain run you take on. And I have to admit, the unlocking criteria for a lot of these are actually really fun. They feel like mini challenges. Tip number 2, which I would have said in Japanese, but I know you guys don't know that. You, person I'm pointing to in the camera, are not going to be able to just auto your way through this, especially if you're free to play and don't spend money. This isn't a pay to win mode, so don't even start that in the comment sections. I'm just telling you guys that auto combating the higher level difficulties isn't gonna cut it. Read what path you're choosing and pick them based on what will help you achieve victory the most. Not what your favorite path from the normal simulated universe is, but the one that's going to help you in Swarm Disaster. If you're struggling with the move counter or just generally getting one shot, Abundance is a lifesaver. Now that one I will say is probably similar to the simulated universe, but the Mercy Tile effect is just too good to pass up. Each path has a unique flavor to it that can be used to your advantage or disadvantage. As I always say, play smart, be patient. Tip number 3, building the right team. This isn't Memory of Chaos, and surprisingly, it's a lot harder. What that means is you probably don't need to gear your units the same way. Hunt Path gives you a bunch of crit, Remembrance offers high freeze chances, and Abundance kinda heals you. I'm sure you get the gist of what I'm saying. There are times where you could forego a crit rate body piece for a crit damage and get a little bit more damage, or an attack percent, or even ignore buffers altogether and bring whatever you want. This mode felt like the best place to experiment all of my what if theories about double DPS comps, 2 sustains, no buffers, and whatever else I wanted. And with that, the Swarm Disaster Guide for Dummies is wrapped up. It's done. It's complete. I finished it. It's over. Obviously, you're not a dummy. It's just the name of the game. I didn't want to overload you all with too much information at one time, and I really didn't want to fill you with anxiety about what you need to do or else. Swarm Disaster has been the most fun I've had in the game so far, and I encourage everyone to experience the same. Some things like the new propagation path were in my notes, but I decided it would be best for you to experience how those resonances work on your own. No spoilers, right? Now I'm gonna get out of here and go prepare for stream. I'll see you guys later today over on twitch.tv/ did I just forget the slat, bro? twitch.tv/IYOKUU Yoku. You know where I'm at. The link's in the description down below. However, if you want early access, just join my Discord. One day I'll be cool enough for a permanent Discord URL. Until then, sayonara. I don't know why I did it that way, but I did it. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later. Oh, and have fun getting bodied by Beetleborg. Cool.